Today, we will be learning about the Iron Horse and how it revolutionized the lifestyle of many Americans from the early to mid-1800s. Now, a question you might be asking yourself is, what was the Iron Horse? The Iron Horse was a series of railroads that helped commerce, goods, and even people get around the United States faster. It was the more modern way of transportation during this time. Another question, when was the first railroad made in the United States? The answer, the first railroad in the United States was made in 1828. It was able to withstand all kinds of weather, which people were intrigued by. Think about it. If you're walking around or you're on horseback, you're exposed to Mother Nature. The railroad could at least help you out a little bit when you're inside those trains. Also, Anthony, what was so significant about the railroad system? Let me inform you about that. The railroad system was the fastest way of getting around the 19th century. Think about it. When you're on a horseback or you're walking around, not as fast as a train. So people were big fans of the railroad system and getting around. It was reliable. The railroad system was definitely durable under any weather condition. Also, they were much cheaper to construct than canals. Over responsive American people, thumbs up. They loved it. Things were going great for the railroad system. In fact, by 1860, the United States had over 30,000 miles of railroad tracks. It exploded in popularity. Was everyone a fan of the railroad system, though? No. Somebody always has to be a critic. That critic, in 1833, the New York legislature prohibited the railroads from carrying freight or people temporarily. They just wanted to be a little safer. They found it was dangerous. Why were they dangerous? Answer being, sparks flew easily. Sparks fly because of metal on metal, and especially when that's happening with an 8-ton train, that's a little bit frightening. And when those sparks fly, fires can occur. Fires can occur on the trains, which put people's lives in danger. New York's legislature was trying to protect that. They said they were miniature hells, and they also said they were the devil's trains. Obviously, the devil didn't create these trains, just a metaphor. And they were also afraid of the braking system. After reviewing this, New York legislature said, okay, as long as you can get a better braking system on these trains, we'll allow people and are afraid to be on these. Railroad pioneers need a solution. They needed better gauges to develop a braking system. Better gauges were eventually developed over time. Safety devices were developed as well. In 1859, the Pullman Sleeping Palace was made to help the situation. Well, trains are now safer. The New York legislature is now allowing freight to be on these trains. The problems with the brakes were fixed. Problem solved, right? No, not exactly. They had to make these railroads out west also, which is not the easiest thing to do. You can't just take the railroads and just build them out west. It's not as easy as doing it in the east. Think about it. The land out there is difficult to build on. You have the Rocky Mountains, you have the deserts, and you have the Grand Canyon. Not exactly ideal for building railroads. But why did they want them out west? The government hoped this would want people to move out west. Instead of walking out there or going on horseback, the train would be a much faster way of getting out there to move there. First things first, the government needed people to even out the land to build railroads. They couldn't just do this on their own. They needed workers. Now, how many people did it take to do that? It took a lot of workers. It took over thousands of workers to fly out the land out west, which is not the easiest thing to convince people to do. Backbreaking labor just to build some trains, not the easiest thing to do. Problems are not over. Problems just continue. Problems that continued, Native Americans. The Native Americans out west were pretty annoyed that they were, the white folk are coming back out west and giving the Native Americans more problems. They hated these railroads. They didn't want people moving out there. They didn't want these railroads out there. In fact, Native Americans even came up with the name Iron Horse because they were used to seeing the white folk come out on horseback, and also they see these railroads come out and they call these things iron horses. Kind of a wordplay there. These were a problem for workers as well when they were building the railroads. They had Native Americans constantly attacking them. That's got to be pretty annoying when you're building a railroad and you have Native Americans shooting bow and arrows at you. Not exactly the best thing. However, they were eventually backed off and the railroad systems were eventually made. What is the result? It got people in freight around faster, encouraged people to move out west, and it revolutionized the United States transportation system. And thank you for watching my video on the Iron Horse. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something.
Created using Powtoon.